Part 2 of The Flight, Part 1 down below. No luck getting a conversation going last week. Probably going to be a bad week this week too. Wife has a play opening Thursday. So, she moved date night last week from Friday to Saturday to accommodate changes made to the rehearsal schedule. She went to the theater most of the day Saturday to help finish building the set. I planned mini golf and trying a local restaurant for dinner that we haven't been to yet. I mentioned to wife last few date nights have been movies and I wanted something a little more interactive. She came home from the theater exhausted and not wanting to stand up anymore. So, we just went to dinner then came home and guess what we did? Watched a movie. I even offered to clear the table so we could work on a puzzle together. She said she just wanted to be held by me. We had good bonding after the kids went to bed. I like physical contact. It's one of my love languages. But so is quality time. We are not getting any of that. Probably won't this week either. She will be gone to the theater by the time I get home tonight. I leave for a business trip tomorrow and won't be back till late, like midnight, on Wednesday. If I was home, it wouldn't matter much anyhow. She has practice Tuesday and Wednesday night. Her play opens Thursday. So, I may see her Saturday morning this week. Maybe we will have late night bonding one night, but other than that, no meaningful contact. I feel like she is keeping me at a distance mentally and I just feel some physical need. She is keeping her therapy appointments but doesn't tell me much about what's going on. Just that it's difficult and she doesn't like it. I've decreased my surveillance, not because I have complete trust, but because I was not finding anything. I believe at this point there is no active affair, with the exception perhaps of her love for the theater. I don't believe we are in a place where she won't slip back into old patterns of poor boundaries and get herself into trouble. I don't think she even realizes what a poor boundary is yet. I plan to give her until May to take some concrete steps, or I'll ask her to move out, maybe get a place closer to the theater. Here are the things I'd like to see by May. 1. For us to return to MC. 2. No back-to-back theater productions. 3. Follow through on date nights that are not just sitting and watching something, or sleeping together. I've told her that I want these 3 things. I have not told her that I've set a time limit in my head, or that if she doesn't start doing these things I plan to separate. I think I should tell her, but how far in advance? I felt like giving her 5 months is a bit too much. I plan to just keep asking her to do these things for me, and if she should either do them or not. A deadline shouldn't really matter. She will have had no commitments to any productions from the time I told her that I do not want her to participate in back-to-back productions. So, if she does get involved in back-to-back productions, she is actively putting the theater above our relationship. Our daughter is also having a major surgery in June. If wife is in back-to-back productions, I will need to put getting home before wife leaves for the theater above my work. My boss will understand, because my wife and I are separated better than because my wife is participating in community theater. I cannot lose my job. In addition to being the primary breadwinner, my job covers the health insurance. WW and I had a nice chat over dinner last night. She had a play performance in the afternoon and auditions for the next play in the evening, so I met with her in between for dinner. This week was a good example of why I don't want her working 2 performances in a row. Between auditions for one, practices and productions of the other, she will be at the theater every night this week. I would have to rush home from work in order to have dinner with her, which can't be every night occurrence. I would have to stay up late to talk with her when she gets home. She gets home normally between 10 p.m. and 11 p.m. I need to get up for work at 5:30 a.m. So, this can't happen every day either. She now clearly understands my point of view, which is good. In the past I would have just kept it to myself. She was still rationalizing how under the right circumstances she might want to work on 2 back-to-back, depending on the play and the director. I just told her that I won't control her, she can do what she feels is more important. But I don't want to be in a marriage where I don't get to spend time with my wife. So, if she does that, it will be a sign to me that theater is more important than our marriage. Why is she so dense? A little background. Tonight was auditions for the next play, which my W is production manager for. The director is a friend, wife babysits his son from time to time and we as a couple are friends with him, his wife and his parents. She texted me last night at 9:45 saying she was giving the director a ride home and they were still at the theater talking about who to call back. So, I texted her back that if she is going to give him a ride home, they need to leave now and she shouldn't talk to him about why. Just say it's time to go and get going. She did get home quickly after the text. GPS showed her to be where she should have been. When she got home her demeanor was okay. She seemed understanding as to why I rushed her. She did try to assure me that nothing was happening. There were 4 other people at the theater and on the rise home they only discussed the production. If you ask her, she will say he is like a brother to her. We have only known them for 3 years. I think it's too soon to draw such a parallel. Am I being too controlling here? I don't think so, but I thought I'd ask for other opinions. Seems like February was a long month. Lots going on, mostly good stuff. Just interesting how I feel like I haven't posted in a long time, and it's only been a few weeks. I thought I'd do a quick update for anyone who may be interested. I'm confident now that formerly WW is not in an active affair. I've dropped my surveillance to a minimum and that has helped a lot with the constant anxiety of being on red alert. We are not in a place that I think it could never happen again. I'm not a big fan of never anyway. Have you ever noticed that in movies, whenever someone says, "I would never do that," in the very next scene they do that? So, I'll always have that bit of uncertainty that will keep me looking for red flags. But I think I'm past the hypervigilant state that I was in for almost a year. I've been going to my individual counseling and a CAG group. Both have helped me understand a lot about myself. I'm starting to work on me and worrying less about her. I can't fix her. I worry that her low self-esteem and need for ego stroking is going to get her into trouble again. She seems aware of it, so maybe that will help her to do better with boundaries. Only time will tell, but I'm at peace with whatever may come. I've researched my options for divorce and have a solid plan on what I will do if she strays again. I'm putting my full effort into a successful reconciliation, but the consequences of her failing to hold up her end are clear. I've been more active with some friends from church and been playing my clarinet more. I'm working on my improved skills and hope to find a jazz band to join soon. I think that would be a lot of fun. Getting out and developing my own interest is helping as I'm not sitting at home alone ruminating on what she is up to at the theater. Wife and I are doing well at doing a date night each week. Well, most weeks. Sometimes it's just dinner and a movie, although tomorrow we are going to learn how to tango. Should be interesting as neither of us are very good dancers nor are both very self-conscious on a dance floor. I'm not very interested in dancing, but I think it will be a good experience for us to share together. Hopefully doing things outside of our comfort zone together will help bring us closer again. Our lives have gotten so routine, we need something to shake it up. Work wanted several of us subject matter experts to get more involved with social media. So, now I'm on Facebook and Twitter. I think getting on Facebook, the medium WW used for her EA, has helped demystify it. I'm also more present on my wife's pages. Probably the same satisfaction a dog gets from marking its territory. May not prevent another dog from trespassing, but it makes me feel like I'm doing something active to deter it. I think another thing that helped snap me out of my death spiral was a 30-second ride in an elevator at the building I work in. I was heading back up to my office after lunch when a rather attractive young lady stepped onto the elevator. Her hands were full, so I politely asked what floor. She told me and I hit the button for her. She thanked me, and I told her, "You are very welcome. My mother taught me to be a gentleman to pretty young ladies." To which she smiled and blushed. Nothing else was said. She did give a quick glance back as she got off the elevator and blushed again. I've seen her in passing since, but we don't talk. I don't know her name and have no intention of finding out. She works for another company in the same building. That's about all I know. I guess having that young girl blush at me gave me a little empathy for the excitement my wife got from her EA with My wife took it way too far. I'm going to have to look for ways to make my wife blush. I can see where a little of that excitement is needed. I guess that's one of the reasons that although I don't like to dance, I'm looking forward to going dancing with my wife tomorrow. Are single. A few close friends and our pastor know about it. My trust level is naturally low. Things will never be the way they were. I'm being too damn nice to her. Her foo issues relate to some crap between her and her sisters. If they find out, she would probably pull out of family functions altogether. I'll reserve that disclosure for part of my nuclear option. The people who know are enough for dealing with what we need to deal with. They can help hold her accountable. She doesn't hang out with her sisters or see them very often for that matter. I have the evidence. If I want to, I can expose it any time. But it's been 10 months now since I've discovered it, more than a year since the incident. She is doing most of the right things, and the things she is not doing are more irritations than outright wrong. So, I'll save the nuclear package for now. I don't think she is interested in leaving me for anyone. She was looking for excitement. In our dance of mutually assured destruction, she wasn't doing much to entice me, and I wasn't doing much to excite her. So, we were both bored in our relationship. We still have a long way to go, but it's getting better. She is still doing too much at the theater. She has gone 4 to 6 nights per week depending on the week. I show up there on occasion to have dinner with her, a mix of announced and unannounced, per our agreement. I have access to her phone. I've gotten to know both her friends and her frenemies. I don't see any signs of her looking for physical excitement outside of our relationship. Our sex life has gotten better. I did the 3 panties thing for Valentine's Day. It's been fun. She knows now that I don't like the time as taking at the theater. I don't mind her doing things at the theater, I just think it should be second or third, or maybe fourth priority in life. Right now, it's her number 1. She misses family parties, church events, and date nights due to theater commitments. If that was for 1 or 2 shows per year, it wouldn't be bad. But she is doing 6 to 8 shows per year. She gets maybe 4 weeks off per year when she does that. If it were her full-time job, I could understand. But that's on top of her day job. It's just too much. She knows it, but other than talk about it, she hasn't done much to slow it down. She does come home right after shows and rehearsals now. So, that is one action that shows she cares about fixing our relationship. I've stopped pushing her on it. When asked, I tell her again that I don't like the time she is putting in at the theater. I tell her that if she does back-to-back performances next season, starts in May, that it will have a negative impact on our reconciliation. But I'm giving her time to figure out what works for her. She has been discussing out loud the merits of various performances and hinting at how there are a couple she really wants to work on. Blah, blah, blah. I tell her again that if she does back-to-back performances next season, it will have a negative impact on our reconciliation. I'm trying not to get caught up by her rationalization hamster. She likes to pull me in and then she can do something I don't want and say, well, we talked about it. So, I've taken to ending it with, sounds like a tough decision. I'm going to the gym, you want to come? Regarding the let her go post, yes, I've read that in the past. It was a lot of help. I've already done some visioning of what divorced life would look like. Not that I wanted to come to that, but it does take the fear factor out of it. In an interesting twist, she was checking my browser history to see if I was still surfing porn, and she saw I was searching for divorce laws in our state. I told her about the logic behind it and she was pretty damn scared. Broke into tears. What made her even more terrified is I didn't break down and cry or hold her or comfort her. I just told her that maybe we should get back to marital counseling. It's looking like April to start marital counseling. She has made some good headway in her individual stuff. She is realizing that she relies way too much on what other people say about her for personal validation. She is becoming aware of how people in her life use both positive and negative feedback about her to manipulate her to do things for them. I'm glad she is waking up to that fact. Back when I was saying how just doesn't get it, this was a big part of it. The theater is her mistress. She is good at it, theater minor and collage, and she loves it. I don't want her to stop. I don't even need that. But you are correct in that she is putting it before reconciling, and that's a problem. My solution is that she limits her involvement to 2 or 3 productions per year and makes sure they don't overlap. That means tops she has gone 3 or 4 nights per week for 8 to 12 weeks per year. I can handle that. This year's productions are published. Directors should be selected in 2 weeks. She has already had a couple of them call her to be stage manager or production manager for their shows should they get the job. She hasn't committed to anyone yet, which is a good sign. But the year is young, so we shall see. Where is the line between leading and controlling? At this point, you might say I shouldn't care about that. Work on control first, then loosen up later. But I'm not one for strict control. If that's what it takes to keep her, I don't want her around. If she doesn't want me for who I am, I'd rather she leaves. The boundaries I've set at this point she has complied with. No contact with her unsavory HS friends. Blocked several people on Facebook. 2 she admitted to having cyber with. A few others I just didn't like. Access to all passwords for all devices, accounts. Skipped the 25-year high school reunion that was last year. Started marital counseling but moved to individual therapy due to issues uncovered. Keep Facebook chat off and limit time on Facebook to under 1 hour per day, and not at all on date nights. In addition to obvious surveillance, I've logged the main computer she uses and moved a VAR around from her car to my car when she uses it, and left it at home on certain days when I know she will be home alone. All of that has checked out clean. I've also asked her to limit her time at theater. She is still working too many productions but does rush home most nights. Before she would come in at midnight to 3 a.m. Now she is home by 10 p.m. or 11 p.m., sometimes earlier. Theater was not the catalyst for the affair. Is asking her to cut out all involvement in theater punitive. Add part is she feels like she has suffered consequences. I had a good laugh at that. If she wanted to suffer, we should switch spots. The important part is I agree, I don't feel like she has suffered any consequences. I'm going to take a little time to reflect and pray about it. But I'm thinking asking her to take a year off is a good idea. I understand her affair. I'm willing to move forward. But she needs to change her behavior or it's just going to repeat. It will be a different medium, a different guy, and is more likely to go physical. I've also checked out Not Just Friends from the library. I went through it and gave it to her to read. She got about halfway through, then she lost it. Which reminds me I still need to go back and pay for the book. You know what, to hell with that too. I'll give her my card tonight and tell her to go in and take care of it. She lost the book, she can fix it. Pretty scared right now, but I guess that's normal. We didn't hash things out last night, but I did give her the link to the video. She will probably watch it this afternoon and we will talk when she gets home from the theater tonight. The meeting last night was an ACAR meeting. It's a 12-step program for people who are adult children of alcoholics. Many of us, including me, carry over behaviors learned in childhood to our adult life, recreating dysfunctional patterns in our relationships, also me. So, she should not come to it with me. We meet for coffee to socialize a bit after the meeting usually. She can come out for coffee if she wants. I can also skip coffee and head home after the meeting, which I didn't, but I only stayed 30 minutes to socialize. When I gave her the link to the video, she was confused. She thinks things are going well and that our problems were solved. She was mildly surprised when I told her I've been unhappy. I say mildly because it wasn't a total shock. She knows I'm good at holding stuff in, so I can be hard to read. I think she was more or less hoping I would let it drop. Aka, successfully rug sweep. I informed her I was being patient as we worked on our individual issues before regrouping to work on the marriage. But I'm tired of waiting and we need to get back to it. If she thinks things are better, it's only because not much has changed, except for me. I told her I'm tired of doing all the work and biting my tongue and holding it in. I told her I feel like I'm paying the price for her mistake, and she got off with almost no consequences. She mentioned she didn't go to her 25th class reunion, and that not all of the friends I had her unfriend were boundary issues, but because they were in the same circle she agreed to cut contact. That fits with your comment that she did what it took to make me feel safe, but she hasn't yet done anything to solve the problem in our relationship. She asked me if I was unhappy enough that I wanted out of the marriage. I said yes, that was very much on my mind. I let her know that I love her, and I'm willing to work on it. But she needs to put more effort into than I am. I've changed a lot of things in my life and am working on becoming a better communicator, but we will need to spend a lot more time together. We focused on that for a bit but didn't make any good progress. I wasn't ready to have the pick now or I walk conversation, so I just listened to her rationalization hamster for a while. Blah, 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 we never spent much alone time together, even when we were dating. Blah, 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 what would we do with more time? We have nothing to talk about. I open laughed at her when she said that. Blah, 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 we are doing date nights every week, isn't that good enough? And my favorite, if you do leave me, all I will have is my theater friends. I don't want to abandon those relationships as I might need them. This was in relation to her still working back-to-back productions because she made commitments to them last year. I reminded her she made a commitment to me 22 years ago. In an interesting twist, her nightmare has always been, even pre-affair, that I would leave her because of something she did. Once she got through that, I left to drop my son off at the school for his choir practice and went to my meeting. It was around 10 p.m. when I got home. We snuggled on the couch and watched a show they recorded but didn't talk much. I did give her my library card before I left for my meeting and asked her to fix it. She lost the book, she should take care of it. So, she went to the library yesterday and settled up. Between the lost book on my card and the fines on her card cost us a whopping $90. But she took care of it without an argument. One good sign in a sea of trouble. The groundwork seems to be well set for the next stage of the discussion. I plan to talk to my therapist prior to asking her to stop theater for a year. I need to have my head on straight for that conversation or I will waffle. I've gone to a couple cast parties and have helped the theater's board of directors by converting their membership list from a Word document to an Access database. I also helped out with the auction they ran as a Christmas fundraiser. So, I'm getting to know the theater people. There are a handful of single people there, 3 or 4, that I don't trust. But a majority are married, have good views on marriage and generally seem to be good eggs. You never know with people, but I guess I'd say I'd rather she hangs out with theater people than the old friends from high school. If she starts hanging out with high school friends, I'll be gone, no discussions. I may try for some middle ground, perhaps not taking a full year off, just the summer. Our 14-year-old daughter is having major surgery in June and will need a lot of our attention. She is already planning to take off whichever production falls in June, but I think it would be useful to extend that into July and August. Less chance of resentment as it's more reasonable than taking off a full season. That, and no back-to-back productions after she restarts would be 0 theater for 3 months, then at most 2 productions from Sept to January. That would be 8 times 4-day weeks, over 5 months. I could tolerate that. Regarding the 3 a.m., I'm torn. She swears up and down she wasn't having a PIA, they would just all go hang out at someone's house and chat after the play. Plays were getting out around 11 p.m. So, they closed the house down by 11:30, sometimes 12 a.m., then they would go hang out together. She said I was welcome to come, but I think she knew the chances of me wanting to go out at midnight were pretty slim. I was also buried deep in my World of Warcraft addiction at that point, so there wasn't much for her to come home to but the back of my head. It was 1 a.m. 2 or 3 times per month and 3 a.m. a few times in that 6-month stretch of hell that led up to D-Day. I'm not dumb. It's more likely than not there is more going on than she is admitting to me. She swears there is not, but given her Oscar-winning performance when she lied to me about the cyber affair, her word isn't worth the breath it takes to give. I've debated the merits of a lie detector, and I don't think it's worth it. Given my neglect in video use, I'll just chalk it up to the part of the past I'll never know for sure. The cyber and lying bad enough for me to demand some things change in our relationship. I'll judge her based on her current actions, which are improved by not yet enough. I know she is not currently involved in an affair, and she says she is committed to proving herself to me. She has taken some steps, but not enough. So, it's time to push her. Okay, past time to push her. That would have been 10 months ago, but I still had my head up my bottom. So, I'll do it now. Things need to change, or the cycle will repeat. I see that very clearly. I'm also mostly sure that if I demanded that or divorce, she would give it up. But I'm also sure she would resent it. She has plenty of that already with her sisters and father. I'm not sure I want to get lumped in with that baggage. If things don't get better, I may have to make her choose between me or theater. But I can hang tough a little bit longer and try some in-between steps. For me, theater is not the problem. It's that she spends more time there than with me. So, right now I think that's my focus. Spend 25 hours per week with me. She can figure out how to balance her life to accomplish that. I'm available 6 p.m. to 11 p.m. 4 weeknights and 7 a.m. to 11 p.m. Saturday and Sunday. That's 50 hours of availability. I don't think she will resent spending time with me. I think it's the ultimatum that would cause the resentment. Besides, then I'd have to wonder, did she do it because she wanted to be with me, or out of fear of losing her cushy lifestyle? If we really want to theorize about the worst case, 1 year of capitulation is a small price to pay to have a life where you don't have to worry about earning money and have a husband as accommodating and reasonable as I am. I make a good buck and we are not wanting for anything material. I'd rather see her back off theater because she knows our marriage needs the time. I'd rather she chooses rather than force her. I have the power to force her into compliance. But what kind of marriage would that be? Not one that I'd want to be part of. For my part, I need to work on clearly articulating that need for more time with her. And it has to be more than I would like or my typical wishy-washy BS. I like Chap's idea of putting together a timeline. To spend the kind of time with me that I believe we need to fix our marriage, she is going to have to give up theater. I don't need to demand she give up theater. I just need to demand the time. If she doesn't give up the theater, I won't get the time. Even if she tries to balance both at first, she is going to have to make daily choices. If she chooses theater over me, I can do as Chap suggests and tell her to go ahead and fill up her calendar with theater stuff and do the 180. I already have a lawyer. Papers can be served quickly. As a nice touch, I'd have her served at the theater. Wife claims to think it's not broken. I have my doubts that she really believes that. She knows that I believe it's broken, and that without change it will be over. She did come home early last night, 9 p.m., as she promised, but was sick, running a fever, so we didn't really do much other than get to bed early. She plans to take Seth off from the theater so we can have the whole day together. There is a family party from 4 to 6, but other than that the day is ours. So, I can give her my demands and we can have lots of time to discuss, absorb, argue or whatever comes of it. We talked last night. Didn't go well at all. She would hate herself for breaking commitments to the 2 productions she is currently involved with. She will take June, July and August off, but plans on working 2 productions later in the year. It was all about her and more her. I told her she might as well fill up the calendar for the year. I told her I would not continue to wait and that it would be the end of our marriage. She said I was being black and white and that I should be more reasonable. I just said I was done being reasonable and went to bed. I got the answer I didn't want, but at least I got a clear answer. We had planned a date day on Saturday. I'll tell her in the morning that the path she has chosen is clear and that there is not really any point to continuing a half-hearted attempt at reconciling. There is a family birthday party late afternoon. Not sure I should go to it. Might blow it off to go to poker night with the guys from work. They play 1 set per month, but I typically don't go, but might be a good thing to start. Sitting with my lawyer on Tuesday. Yes, the party is with her family. No, they don't know about the affair. Specifically, she wanted to keep that away from her sisters. The kids know what's going on. I'll call her dad and tell him why I'm not coming. The party is at his house. If she still wants to spin a story, I guess that's up to her. I won't sweat it. Lying always catches up with the liar. She just sent me a text saying she backed out of helping with the next production. I'm thinking of saying okay to letting her finish the current production. No more rehearsals. There are 15 performances over the next 4 weeks. She only goes to those performances. I'd go with her to the cast party. Then she is done with theater until we both agree that it's okay to return, and the pace of that return. That could be in 4 months, it could be in 2 years. She would have to accept the open endless of it. I'm looking for a sanity check. Is that too much compromise? She is production manager for the current performance, and backing out of it would probably preclude any director from ever working with her again. So, I'm inclined to allow it. 2 more text messages asking if I got her first one and a voicemail asking me to call her. I'm meeting with my pastor to pray with me tonight. I don't think I'll see her until after she is done with the play tonight. I'll stay dark until then. She stayed home Friday night and all day yesterday. She is at a baby shower now but will be home for dinner. She has found people to fill in for most of the current production but will need to go a couple more times over the next 3 weeks, but not more than 1 night per week. She is not going to commit to anything new until we are both ready. We start MC again next weekend. Quick recap for those who don't want to go back and read the long version. Moved back to hometown in 2014. Wife started reconnecting with high school friends. Wife's mom passed 2016. Wife was not spending much time at home anymore. Out with HS friends, just starting community theater. May 2017, I found evidence that wife was having cybersex over FB with old HS friend. Wife lies about it until I show proof. Admits there was one other guy too. Denies anything was ever physical, and that she quit the cyber affair in July 2016 before I found out about it. Start MC in June 2017. Stop in Sept 2017 to work on individual therapy. Wife is no contact with HS friends, shared passwords and covert monitoring in place. However, still very active in theater, spending more and more time working on productions. Last week, getting fed up with the lack of focus on the marriage, I'm ready to call it quits. I see the disconnect happening again and believe it's only a matter of time until she connects with someone outside of the marriage. After getting advice from the posters here, I confront the wife, tell her to back out of theater to focus on the marriage or it's over. Talk doesn't go well. She goes through a long list of reasons she can't. We both go to bed angry. I stop talking to her and prepare to file for divorce. The next day, after trying to get in contact with me, she backs out of the next upcoming production. That night when we get home, we talk, argue some more. She agrees to quit the current production too, and not resume theater responsibilities until we are both ready. Other than the baby shower, we spent the weekend together. We decided to just do things together and try to have some fun. Last week got pretty heated and stressful, and we both needed some time to cool off. We will talk tonight after dinner about future plans. I'm going to keep my demands to a simplified. We must spend 25 to 30 hours per week together. Other things like full transparency, passwords, and no contact with the high school crowd remain in place, of course. I do not think she is having an affair with someone at the theater. I do think she is using the theater as an escape to not deal with problems in our marriage and her own. I worry that if she continues that without fixing the problems first, it leaves our marriage vulnerable, and it's only a matter of time until something happens again. That is why she needs to put time as a couple together as the #1 priority. From our individual therapy, hear what I know about each of our underlying issues. Me, raised in an alcoholic home with physical abuse and emotional abuse. Early addictions to meds and alcohol myself, stopped before we got married. Addictions to work and gaming on and off over the past 20 years. I'm a people pleaser and have trust issues. I don't let people get close to me out of fear they will cause me pain. Her, raised in a narcissistic home. She is the oldest of 6. The second in birth order has done some pretty nasty stuff to her. Stealing friends' stuff, breaking what she can't take. So, wife is insecure, fear of abandonment, and is a bit of covert narcissist herself. She has an overwhelming need to be praised. Give her a little and she will eat out of your hand. Criticize her and she feels rejected and abandoned. When I'm in people-pleasing mode, she is as happy as a pig in slop. However, I deny my own needs when I'm in that mode, and gradually spiral into depression. Then I self-medicate, compulsive X, video games, work or booze, and it numbs me so I don't feel bad. Then I ignore her and she feels rejected and looks for some other source of narcissistic supply. Keep in mind she is not the nasty type of narcissist and she doesn't recognize it in herself at all. That would make her like her dad, and I could call her any nasty thing in the book before I could tell her she is like her dad. That is the cycle we need to break. I'm avoiding the self-medicating with success for now. I'm still doing too many people-pleasing. It's this complexity that has me just focused on getting the time together for now. I'm not sure what to put into a longer timeline, but hopefully it involves doing more together. Who knows, maybe someday I'll stop resenting the theater enough to get involved in it with her. Right now, the place feels like my competition, so spending time there sucks. My comment, part 3 coming tomorrow. I will try to fit in the ending for tomorrow. I hope these OP can change their life for the better. See you in the next part.